So ER came along and you earned the role that, well, it just seemed like it was made for you, Nurse Haleh Adams. And
Yep.
I was wondering, could you please take us through the sequence of events that led to you earning a spot on the cast of ER?
Well, okay, let me see. I had a Pinto. When in New York you don't need a car, but out here you need a car, and I didn't know no better. I had a Pinto, I think it was a 1979 red Pinto, and basically I could keep it together by, spit and rubber bands. That's how bad the car was. And I needed another car, and I had this audition for ER. I drove it I lived on the beach, and I drove all the way into Burbank, which is a long, long drive, especially if you got a bad car. And it was sitting in the parking lot smoking, and I was just like wondering if I could get home. But and after this audition for this show, ER, that was a movie. That's all I thought it was. Movie of the week. It's not going to be enough money for me. I wouldn't make enough money to buy a new car with this little movie. Get in there to the audition. There's a couple other women sitting out there for the same role that I'm in, and that didn't make me feel any better either. So I go into my audition, and there's like a couple of scenes that you have to read, and there's a whole bunch of people sitting in a room. It's always a whole bunch of people when you audition. It's amazing, and it's always a tiny room. And so the casting director, who is the casting director out here, John Levy, he was reading with me. And he moved ahead to the next scene, and I wasn't ready. And I just said, hold it. I am not ready to move on. Hold on. And I turn the page, and I get there, because I'm not thinking about this little jive job, ER. I'm not going to get me a new car.
Sure.
And so I said, okay. And to him when I found the page, and we went on and did the rest of the audition. I had, I would careless these people. I get back into my smoking car, and I drive back to the beach. And by the time I got home, my agent said I had the job. And it was because of my attitude. Because I was in a funk. I was awful. Because you think about your car, not making it home. So there you go. So that's how I got it. So I had the right attitude for Nurse Haleh.
So you show up on the first day of filming, and was there a sense of excitement in the air among the cast and the crew on the first day of the shooting of the pilot episode of ER?
You know what? That's when I did find out that there was something else going on here. Because I'm not I'm not one of the stars. I'm a supporting player. So the George Clooney and Eric LaSalle and what's his face, Mark Green. I call him Mark Green. My God.
Tony Edwards.
Thank you. Which I just worked with him too. 'Cause, they're all coming back on the show.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, and nice guys, but you could sense something was going on. And after we finished the pilot, John Wells said to me, if this goes, that's when I found out it was a pilot, too, when I was on first day on the set. I didn't even know that. I thought it was the movie of the week. And it was a backdoor pilot. That's what he used to do. He said, John Wells said, if it goes, I'm going to use you a lot. And I'm like, okay.
Sure.
Use me.
And so though you appear briefly behind the admit desk of County General's ER at the beginning of the pilot, your first big scene was with George Clooney. I believe it was during the first major trauma scene of the show, correct?
Yeah. And then I had some other scene with with the baby. That's how I got over. That's how they kept me, because I was holding the baby or looking at the pregnant lady who had a baby in this scene, and it was I wasn't even acting, I tell you the truth. It was just a natural reaction to a baby. It was, when you see a baby,
sure.
And they caught me. I didn't even know I was on camera. I thought they were filming somebody else, and they caught this lovely little thing of me in the pilot, and that's how I kept the job. So, hey.
Now, some may not know, but the pilot was not filmed at Warner Brothers Studios, was it? It was actually filmed in what had once been a real hospital, correct?
Yeah, oh, yeah. And they still use that hospital, but it's real tacky and old, and don't go in the areas that you're not supposed to go into. You run into a spider or something. They copied it. They copied part of it. It's the Linda Vista Hospital. They copied some of it, and they copied Chicago's County Hospital, and everything on the set in Warner Brothers is real. I mean, totally real. All our instruments, all the flooring, they have the ceilings, that looks like a real hospital, and they copied it.
Well, and those infamous trauma rooms, the green and yellow trauma rooms, the reason they're that color and that way was because that was what the actual trauma rooms looked like in the hospital in California.
Exactly.
And so it kind of just carried over from there.
Right.
So how many days did it take to film the pilot?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. 2 weeks, maybe? 3? It doesn't take long to film anything in in Hollywood.
So is there anything else that you remember about the pilot that you'd like to share with us? Something memorable that happened?
Not really. They fed us good.
I can't remember where I heard this story, but I heard that there was that this hospital was sort of in a bad neighborhood, wasn't it? The one.
Oh yeah, it was tacky. That's what I mean. It was totally tacky. And they had cops around, making sure we were okay. But it was pretty. It was not the best environment to do a movie or TV movie.
Well, didn't some passersby actually think that you were open as a real hospital? I mean, they were dropping people off at the door.
God, where'd you get all this information?
I'm a big fan of the program.
Oh, yeah, they thought it was a hospital. Surprise!
And I was wondering if you could please tell us about the fast pace of ER, because ER was drastically different from medical shows and even regular other television shows from the past. Well,
the thing is that ER came at the right time that the digital movie making was coming into vogue. We could never have done the show without the new editing process and digital, because for them to edit it that fast. And
sure.
Also, there was a thing that was developed was the Steadicam. And so that was continuous. Camera would go 360 around us. So basically, we were shot like we were doing a play in scenes. So everything had to work because of this camera, and you were always on in the scene. And sometimes it would take 20 takes to get one scene finished. If you had 20 or 30 people talking in a scene,
yeah, sure,
everybody's got to get it right because it's one scene. It was one long, scene. It's fabulous and it's fun to do, but scary, especially if you're the last person and you mess up.
Did that take a long time for you and the regular cast to you and the other regular cast to get a handle on how to shoot those kind of scenes like that, or did that come together pretty quickly?
You know what? I think because most of the people that did the show came out of theater. So that helped, and I just think it was right for everybody. At the time, we were all ready for this newness and all excited to do it. And the director at the time was Rod Holcomb. And he did the pilot, and he set the look of the show and how he does how he sets up the camera and all. And he would feel the camera. There wouldn't be just one talking head. There would be a whole bunch of people in this one shot. And it was just so exciting and dynamic. He did something different. And then we were all up for it,
And it was also sort of a leap from previous medical dramas like St. Elsewhere, because storylines would start and then drop pretty quickly sometimes. You wouldn't know what happened to one of the characters by the end of the show sometimes.
Well, they would do short storylines. You would have the storyline of, say, the guest stars that would come through, the person who was ill. You would get a full. They wouldn't drop it. They would just, that was it for that show. Some would last, 6 shows maybe. Some storylines would last and then they're gone. But yeah, it was a different way of doing it, and that's what made it a hit. That's also the writer, John Wells, who wrote it, and he's the head guy. And Crichton is the original one who came up with this, and I think it was written years before John Wells got it and produced it. So, you got to go to, Crichton, who, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He created it.